Dara Daivari is an American professional wrestler, currently performing on the independent circuit as Shawn Daivari. He is best known for his work with World Wrestling Entertainment as simply Daivari and with Total Nonstop Action Wrestling as Sheik Abdul Bashir. Professional wrestling career. Early career. Daivari grew up admiring Mick Foley and Bret Hart. His childhood hero was Shawn Michaels. He participated in his first professional wrestling match at age 15. He started his career in the upper Midwest independent scene. He is known for representing Iran for international title matches. On October 19, 1998, Daivari appeared on WCW Monday Nitro as a fan being interviewed by Mike Tenay. He appeared on February 26, 2003's TNA Explosion and wrestled a tag team match against Mike Sanders and Glenn Gilberti with Ken Anderson. He also appeared on the October 5, 2003 edition of WWE Sunday Night Heat as Shawn Daivari, losing his match against Tommy Dreamer. He also made 4 appearances for independent promotion Ring of Honor between April and July 2004. World Wrestling Entertainment. Managing Muhammad Hussein, Daivari signed a contract with World Wrestling Entertainment in August 2004 and debuted on the December 13 edition of Raw alongside Muhammad Hussein as Khosrow Daivari, later shortened to Daivari. Their gimmick was that of 2 Arab Americans who were tired of the prejudice and racism they were receiving after the 9/11 attacks. In the weeks leading up to their debut, the 2 men would appear on Raw in vignettes promoting their hatred towards America. In the following weeks, they would back up their words with actions, initiating a feud with Raw announcers Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler. At Wrestlemania 21 on April 3, 2005, Daivari and Hussein were involved in a storyline with returning WWE legend Hulk Hogan. While attacking injured wrestler Eugene, Hogan made his classic entrance and ejected both men from the ring to the delight of fans in attendance. Ironically, Daivari would scream instructions in Persian to Hussein when working as his manager, though this was often described as Arabic on broadcasts. The following night on Raw, Daivari and Hussein interrupted Shawn Michaels during a promo. The 2 attacked Michaels and left him helpless in the ring. This led to Daivari's first singles match in WWE, on the April 11, 2005 edition of Raw. Although Michaels was heavily favored, Daivari, with help from Hussein, got the upset win. Enraged, Michaels demanded a match against both Daivari and Hussein. Raw general manager Eric Bischoff refused to grant a handicap match but instead ordered Michaels to find a partner. That partner turned out to be Daivari and Hussein's WrestleMania foe Hulk Hogan. On the April 18, 2005 episode of Raw, Michaels was once again double-teamed by Daivari and Hussein until Hogan appeared to make the save. Hogan accepted Michaels' offer to tag and the match was set for the Backlash pay-per-view on May 1, 2005. At Backlash, Hogan and Michaels picked up the win which led to friction between the 2 since Hussein blamed Daivari for the loss. The next night on Raw, Hussein verbally and physically attacked Daivari, leaving their future as a team in question. Both Daivari and Hussein were later drafted to SmackDown. On June 23, 2005 as part of a package deal. On the July 7, 2005 episode of SmackDown, GM Theodore Long put Daivari in a match that night against The Undertaker, and Muhammad Hussein in a match against The Undertaker at the Great American Bash. Daivari was squashed easily in that match, after which Hussein began to prey on the ramp, summoning 5 masked men to the ring. The masked men beat and strangled The Undertaker into submission, and Hussein put him in the camel clutch. Afterward, the masked men carried Daivari off like a martyr. The controversial imagery aired unedited in North America despite the terrorist attacks in London earlier that day, but was removed from the Australian and UK broadcasts. In late July, UPN requested that WWE keep Muhammad Hussein off of their network. WWE complied, effectively removing him from SmackDown. At the Great American Bash 2005, after Hussein lost in a match with The Undertaker, Hussein was given the last ride through an open stage ramp onto a concrete floor. It was reported that he sustained serious injuries and had to be rushed to a nearby medical facility. This was an angle aimed to kill off the character. Although Hassan would eventually retire from professional wrestling, Daivari reported to WWE's Deep South Wrestling territory for training and repackaging. He returned from Deep South and, after working in Minneapolis, made his debut in September 2005 on OVW TV, returning as his Sheik Daivari persona. Managing Kurt Angle, on November 7, 2005, Daivari returned to Raw, acting as Kurt Angle's anointed special guest referee in the tag team match between Shawn Michaels and John Cena vs. Angle and Chris Masters. During the match, Daivari favored Angle and Masters, who won the match via disqualification when Michaels was caught with a chair Angle brought in. On November 21, 2005, Kurt Angle announced that Daivari was to be the referee for all his future matches, including his match against WWE Champion John Cena for the title at the 2005 Survivor Series. Mr. McMahon rescinded that at the Kangaroo Court trial of Eric Bischoff on Raw on December 5, 2005. Daivari remained aligned with Kurt Angle as his manager. On the January 13, 2006, edition of WWE Friday Night SmackDown, Angle and Daivari jumped to SmackDown, where Angle won the World Heavyweight Championship the very same night. Angle later revealed that his contract on Raw had expired, which allowed them to switch brands. Angle was already signed to face Shawn Michaels on Raw, however this non-title match went ahead, but Daivari would accidentally cost Angle the match against Michaels. Afterwards, Daivari and Angle argued, but when Daivari slapped Angle, he was Angle slammed over the ropes and down to the floor on the outside of the ring. During the break on WWE.com Unlimited, an enraged Angle made it known that Daivari's services were no longer needed. A short time later, Daivari faced his former client in a match. During the match, Mark Henry, the number one contender for Angle's title, attacked Angle. After the match, Daivari officially announced that he was now managing Henry and continued to manage Henry during his feud with The Undertaker. Daivari would disappear off television in the weeks leading up to WrestleMania 22 when, at WWE's Saturday Night Main Event, Daivari suffered a chokeslam and tombstone piledriver at the hands of The Undertaker onto the lid of a casket. Managing the Great Khali, on the April 7, 2006 edition of SmackDown, Daivari made his return, bringing in the debuting The Great Khali to attack The Undertaker during his match with Mark Henry. The next week, Daivari officially presented him to the crowd, hyping him as an unstoppable monster. Over the following weeks, Daivari would accompany Khali to the ring as he destroyed various SmackDown superstars. This would all lead up to a match with The Undertaker at Judgment Day on May 21, 2006, which Khali would end up winning. Daivari and Khali appeared as guests on Piper's Pit on the June 2, 2006 edition of SmackDown, in which Piper made fun of Khali, who supposedly can't speak English. Eventually Piper stood on the bottom rope, attempting to match height with Khali. He managed to say, "If this was 20 years ago," before Khali grabbed him by the throat. Daivari made Khali put Piper down and straightened Piper's jacket disrespectfully. Piper slapped Daivari, but was then given a chop by Khali. The Undertaker was the original guest on the Pit, but he declined the invitation a few days before. Daivari continued to accompany the Great Khali to the ring when Khali wrestled or attacked other wrestlers, but when the Great Khali became inactive due to injury, Daivari was taken off the road as well. Daivari and the Great Khali were moved to the ECW brand officially when they made their ECW debuts on the October 31, 2006 edition of ECW on Sci-Fi. Daivari beat the reject Shannon Moore in a very quick match. Daivari's original theme music was used as well as his Persian rants on the microphone. Afterwards, Moore was manhandled by the Great Khali. Daivari continued his ECW winning streak over the next several weeks, with the Great Khali usually following up the contest with a choke bomb on Daivari's opponent. At December to Dismember, Daivari got a victory over Tommy Dreamer following a schoolboy roll-up. Dreamer then chased Daivari all the way to the back. Then, the Great Khali appeared and caught Dreamer, planting him on the steel ramp with a choke bomb. On January 8, 2007, the Great Khali debuted on Raw, without Daivari. The following night, however, Daivari accompanied Khali to the ring for his match with Dreamer on ECW. Daivari returned to SmackDown on February 9, 2007, defeating the Cruiserweight champion Gregory Helms in a non-title match. He began wrestling in the Cruiserweight division. He was involved in a feud between Kane and the Great Khali, once again promoting the Great Khali in March 2007. His first match against Kane involved him being dragged backstage by Kane's chain and hook, leaving his back with multiple bruises. A few weeks later, Daivari had a rematch with Kane and was again defeated. Final storylines: Daivari returned to SmackDown. A few months later, teaming up with Chavo Guerrero and Jamie Noble against Jimmy Wang Yang, Paul London and Brian Kendrick in a losing effort. On the June 15, 2007 episode of SmackDown, Daivari competed in a fatal four-way number one contenders match for the WWE Cruiserweight Championship, which he lost to Yang and also involved Shannon Moore and Noble. Daivari was drafted back to Raw in the supplemental draft on June 17, 2007. He re-debuted on the June 18, 2007 edition of Raw, losing to Jeff Hardy. On the July 30, 2007 episode of Raw, Daivari was defeated by Cody Rhodes, who had to win his match or face being fired from WWE. Daivari's losing streak continued when he failed to win the position of General Manager of Raw by being eliminated early in the Battle Royal the week after Rhodes defeated him. Daivari then started to get on a roll on Heat, being victorious against Super Crazy and Hacksaw Jim Duggan. His return to Raw on September 17 saw him lose to Hacksaw Jim Duggan in a flag match. On October 16, 2007, Daivari was released from his WWE contract. Independent circuit. Daivari made his debut for Professional Championship Wrestling in Arlington, Texas at PCW's Heroes 2 Legends event in November 2007. He wrestled JT LaMotta and Gigolo James Johnson in a triple threat match for the PCW Cruiserweight Championship. LaMotta won the match to become the new champion. He returned to PCW on February 23, 2008 at PCW's Big Bang 08 event to again wrestle a triple threat match for the PCW Cruiserweight Championship, this time against Robert Evans and Aaron Eagle. Eagle won and became the new champion. On September 6, 2008, it was announced by the Bussy brothers that Daivari will return on September 20, 2008 to team with them to take on Aaron Eagle and a partner of his choosing. Eagle had chosen Action Jackson to be his tag team partner. However, Jackson was injured at the hands of Mace Malone. PCW World Heavyweight Champion, Mike Fox, who was supposedly suspended and also Eagle's main rival, shockingly saved Eagle from an attack and announced he would be Eagle's partner. The stipulation was that if Eagle did not win, he could never get another world title shot again. On September 20, Daivari and the Bussies defeated Eagle and Fox when Fox turned on Eagle and Daivari debuted his new finisher, the WMD, for the victory. Afterwards, Fox announced he would give Eagle one final shot at Sick and Twisted on October 11. On April 4, 2008, Daivari made his AMW debut in a triple threat match against Wally Darkman and Robert Evans for the AMW Light Heavyweight Championship. Daivari won the match to become the AMW Light Heavyweight Champion. During most of 2008 he feuded with Wally Darkman. On September 12, 2008, Daivari lost his AMW Light Heavyweight Championship to Wally Darkman in a casket match. This match was considered a classic by some and considered by many of the AMW fans as the match of the year. In June 2008, Daivari took part in an Irish Whip wrestling event in the ESB Arena, Dublin, where he lost in the main event to Mandrake for the IWW International Heavyweight Championship. Total Nonstop Action Wrestling X Division Champion. Daivari debuted in Total Nonstop Action Wrestling on the June 12 edition TNA Impact. As the captain to Team International in 2008's World X Cup tournament. Daivari signed a contract with TNA on the July 24, 2008 edition of Impact. After the conclusion of the X Cup, it was announced that he had joined the TNA roster under the name of Sheik Abdul Bashir. Retaining his anti-American gimmick and also adding a bullying mean streak, he quickly established himself as a heel after helping Petty Williams retain the TNA X Division Championship over Consequences Creed at Hard Justice, as well as delivering promos to draw heat. His official debut match on Impact was a victory over Jay Lethal. Bashir won the X Division Championship at No Surrender on September 14, 2008 by defeating Williams and Creed in a three-way match. At Bound for Glory 4, Bashir defeated Consequences Creed in another match for the X Division Championship on a live edition of Impact. On October 23, Bashir successfully defended his title against Jay Lethal. After the match he attacked Rhino after being confronted by him over his political views. On October 30, 2008, it was announced that Daivari was taken to wrestler court at the week's Impact tapings following a rib he played on Kip James during a flight they shared. Daivari pulled aside a flight attendant, who then announced over the loudspeaker that Kip was celebrating his 65th birthday. He was taken to wrestler court because it was determined that he hadn't spent enough time in the company to pull a rib on a veteran. Brother Ray served as the judge while B.G. James represented Kip and Brother Devin represented Daivari, and Agent Pat Kenny served as the bailiff for the proceedings. Daivari was found guilty and was required to supply the locker room beer and booze, which he did on Tuesday night after the tapings. On the November 13 episode of Impact, Bashir lost the X Division Championship to Eric Young. During the match, Bashir shoved TNA official Shane Sewell to the mat after Sewell questioned Bashir and the TNA audience of Bashir's actions during the match. Sewell became enraged, removed his shirt and attacked Bashir. This led to Eric Young hitting his Death Valley driver on Bashir and pinning him for the win and the championship. However, Bashir was awarded the championship back the following week due to Sewell's interference, thus continuing his original title reign and making Young's title reign null and void. Sewell helped Young defeat Bashir for the belt for the second time at Final Resolution on December 7. After the match, Bashir blooded Sewell and tried to leave with the belt, but was stopped by Jim Cornette, who announced that he had decided to vacate the belt. At Genesis, Sewell defeated Bashir in a grudge match. On June 27, 2009, Jeremy Barash announced on his Twitter page that Daivari had signed a new multi-year deal with the company. World Elite and Departure. In July 2009, Bashir formed an alliance with Eric Young, Kiyoshi and the British Invasion known as World Elite. They were also later joined by Homicide. At Final Resolution, Bashir took part in the Feast or Fired match and was able to pick up one of the 4 briefcases. However, the briefcase he had picked up included a pink slip, which led to him being immediately fired from the company. Daivari would later say he originally signed a 2-year extension with the understanding that Jeff Jarrett would be his boss, but after Jarrett stepped down a month later, he could not see eye to eye with the new management and asked for his release. Return to Raw and the independent circuit. Daivari made his return to Ring of Honor on February 5, 2010, at the tapings of Ring of Honor Wrestling on HDNET. Once again portraying an anti-American heel. At the March 6 tapings, he joined Prince Nana's stable The Embassy. On May 8, at Pro Wrestling Syndicate Vendetta, he won the vacant PWS New York State Championship. Several days later at Canadian Wrestling's Elite, he and Aria Daivari went to the final CWE Tag Team Championship tournament but lost to Danny Duggan and Kenny Omega. On June 19, at Death Before Dishonor 8, he participated in a gauntlet match for Roderick Strong's Raw World Championship. On September 11, at Glory by Honor 9, Daivari unsuccessfully challenged Eddie Edwards for the Raw World Television Championship. Daivari made his American Wrestling Rampage debut on AWR's 7-night Twisted Steel Tour. He made his debut in Juggalo Championship Wrestling in at Oddball Wrestling 2010. Where the Ring Riggers defeated Shawn and his real-life sibling Araya, the Daivari brothers. On November 10, the first event of the tour, he defeated Duncan Disorderly in Bordeaux, France, to win the AWR No Limits Championship. On March 29, 2011, Daivari returned to TNA, won a dark match against Ricky Reyes. On May 3, Daivari made his WWE return, competing in a dark match before the SmackDown tapings, losing to Ted DiBiase. In June 2011, Daivari, working under the ring name Dubai, was announced as one of the 4 team captains for the pilot tapings of All Wheels Wrestling. At the pilot tapings on June 29, Dubai was first defeated by RPM in a 5-minute Iron Man match and then by Swag Dutt in an Ultimate X match, which also included Aaron Aguilera and RPM. On August 18, 2011, Daivari won a one-night tournament to become the first varsity pro wrestling champion. In December 2011, Daivari took part in TNA's India project, Ring Ka King, where he resumed the Abdul Bashir gimmick and formed the Sheiks with his brother Uriah, who worked as Mustafa Bashir. On May 12, 2012, Daivari won the Big Time Wrestling Cruiserweight Championship. In October, he and Sanjay Dutt wrestled for Family Wrestling Entertainment, challenging the Adrenaline Express for the FWE Tag Team Championship. On October 6, Daivari defeated Crowbar in the House of Hardcore's first show. On a telecast of Portland Wrestling Uncut, which aired on November 3, 2012 on Portland, Oregon station KPTV, Daivari lost via pinfall to local star Exile, though the outcome was disputed because Daivari pointed out that he had his foot on the bottom rope when he was pinned. On November 30, 2013, at WrestleCade, Daivari was defeated by Jim Duggan. Lucha Underground On April 15, 2015, Daivari made his debut at Lucha Underground as Dara Daivari, a wrestler from a wealthy family, being seen sitting in attendance during the night within the audience. On the April 22, 2015 episode, Daivari attacked El Texano Jr. after Texano pushed him, which cost Texano's team the trio's title match. On May 13, 2015, Daivari made his in-ring debut against Texano, but Daivari won by DQ after Texano attacked the referee. On May 20, 2015, Daivari hired Big Ryk as his bodyguard, both of them attacking Texano as well as Bengala. Due to the alliance not paying off for Daivari, he attacked Ryk with a steel folding chair during a 7-way match at Ultima Lucha. Personal life: Daivari was born in Minnesota to Iranian parents, who immigrated to the United States in the 1970s. He speaks Persian fluently. He has an older and a younger brother. His younger brother, Uriah, is also a professional wrestler. Daivari was featured in the Morgan Spurlock-directed documentary Mansum. In October 2012, Daivari gained attention for choking a drunk, disruptive passenger unconscious with a rear-naked choke on a light trail en route to the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport, after police were slowed to respond to another passenger hitting an emergency button. Daivari was excused and not charged for the incident. As of June 2015, Daivari is in a relationship with professional wrestling valet Alicia Webb. In wrestling, finishing moves, as Shawn Daivari/Kozro Daivari/Daivari, camel clutch, diving leg drop, hammerlock DDT WWE, magic carpet rider OVW/independent circuit. As Sheik Abdul Bashir, WMD Euro 2008, WMD driver Euro 2009. Signature moves: Death Valley driver. Managers: Abu, Prince Nana. Wrestlers managed: Muhammad Hussein, Kurt Angle, Mark Henry, The Great Khali, Resha Saeed. Nicknames: Sheik, The Middle Eastern Nightmare, The Golden Warrior. Entrance themes: Arab Americans by Jim Johnston, Streets of Pakistan by Dale Oliver. Championships and accomplishments: American-Made Wrestling Entertainment, AMWE Light Heavyweight Championship. American Wrestling Rampage, AWR No Limits Championship. Big Time Wrestling, BTW Cruiserweight Championship, BTW United States Championship. Mad Asylum Pro Wrestling, MAPW Heavyweight Championship. Midwest Independent Association of Wrestling, MIAW Lightweight Championship. Neo-PRO Wrestling, ANEO-PRO Cruiserweight Championship. Portland Wrestling Uncut, Pacific Northwest Heavyweight Championship. Pro Wrestling Illustrated, PWI ranked him number 85 of the top 500 singles wrestlers in the PWI 500 in 2009. Total Nonstop Action Wrestling, TNA X Division Championship, Feast or Fired. Varsity Pro Wrestling, VPW Championship. References. External links. ShawnDaivari.com, Online World of Wrestling Profile.